I wanted to bring today's episode to the podcast talking about exercise for fertility. This is something that either we see people over-exercising or under-exercising. So we're going to talk about the top mistakes that we see around exercise and movement for fertility, how you can get started, how you can pull back if you are over-exercising, and how all of this impacts your fertility and what you can do to get started right now. So excited for you to listen. Hey there. Thanks so much for listening to the Get Pregnant Naturally podcast. And I've got a favor to ask you. If you are enjoying learning about the functional approach to fertility, consider going to iTunes and rating and reviewing the podcast. This is how it helps the show reach more people that are struggling with infertility, knowing that there's another approach that really can get to the bottom of why it's not working in the first place. So all you need to do is, if you're on the app or the desktop, just go in and consider leaving a 5-star rating and leave a review. And there is step-by-step instructions in the show notes showing you exactly how to do that. So if you can just take a few minutes, just take the few minutes right now. You can pause this recording, come back, leave the review. It would really mean the world to me and help others that are on the fertility journey as well. Take care. Hey there. I regularly speak with 5 to 10 couples per week who are struggling to have their baby. And although we want to help everyone, we only have 2 spots available per month to work with us. So the Supercharge Your Fertility Discovery call is for action takers. And really people who are ready to move forward so they can finally have their baby. And if you're not ready and you wait, the risk is you'll need to wait 2 to 3 months for a spot to open up. So if you're seriously considering working with us, go to Fab Fertile, F-A-B, fertile.com and click on book a free call. Then you'll be all booked in and ready to spend 30 minutes to give you the action plan to getting pregnant naturally. That's Fab Fertile, F-A-B, fertile.com and click on book a free call. One theme that keeps coming up with the couples in our Fab Fertile Couples Coaching Program is sleep. Whether it's insomnia, having a hard time falling asleep, waking up at night, or feeling tired when we wake up, sleep is critical for fertility and hormones. And that's why I'm so excited to have Blue Blocks as our podcast sponsor. So we're exposed to blue and green light from our phones, our tablets, our computers, indoor lights, and more. And this exposure impacts our melatonin production. And melatonin is essential for both female and male fertility. It helps determine the frequency and duration of our cycle and impacts sperm. There's lots of blue light blocking glasses on the market, but the ones from Blue Blocks, they've actually compared other popular brands, and Blue Blocks block 100% of blue and green light while other brands fall short. So I have their sleep glasses. They have red lenses, and the ones I have are a little translucent frame, and they're so stylish and really cool. And so they eliminate 100% of the blue and green light in the 400 nanometer to 550 nanometer range. So this is exact range that has been shown in clinical studies to disrupt melatonin and negatively impact your sleep. So all you do is wear your sleep glasses after sunset until it's time for bed, and you'll notice improved sleep after just one use. And it's also cool to use when you're flying for managing jet lag. So I got to say I was a little skeptical about the noticing improvement after one use, but literally I use these glasses and my sleep is actually already pretty good. I used them for one day, and I have to say after one day, I had the best sleep of my life. I just felt so rested. So these glasses, they ship free and they're tracked for all orders anywhere in the world. And also they have all their frames come in prescription, non-prescription, and reading glasses. Plus you can send in your frames and they'll add the blue light blocking and green light blocking lenses to your frame. So this is an easy hack that you can add to your fertility toolkit. All you do is go to BlueBlocks, BLUBLOX.com. Use the coupon code GetPregnantPodcast at checkout and receive a 15% discount. That's BlueBlocks, BLUBLOX.com, and use the coupon code GetPregnantPodcast to receive your 15% discount. I didn't need to go to donor eggs. Obviously, I don't regret it. I have beautiful children. I could have done things differently, restored. I was still cycling back in my 20s. I could have looked at my health, the environmental toxins, the stress I was under.
Many women are being told their eggs are too old. That's often merely an assumption that's not based on actual evidence. The reason being that there is no direct test of egg quality. You can't test egg quality.
It's the man who's got a food sensitivity or he has a zinc deficiency.
Like there can be a root cause to these symptoms that are, quote unquote, period problems, that the doctor will pass you a pill without any question of why.
And some part of you knows that if you can reframe your journey from not want to struggle, or if it is struggle, learn how to embrace the struggle. Learn how to embrace it.
Most conditions in the child occur during the 9 months of development. It's the genetic switches are turned on or turned off, and they're pre-programmed. So you are in such a powerful, amazing position to do amazing things for your kids.
Why is IVF the first step? Because we believe it should be the last step. Welcome to Get Pregnant Naturally, where functional medicine and natural fertility solutions will help you get pregnant and have your baby. Hey everyone, I'm Sarah Clark, founder of Fab Fertile and your host. I believe the functional approach is the first step for anyone struggling with infertility, and my aim is to help get you pregnant naturally. Today, I'm welcoming back to the podcast Samantha Kellgren, and we're digging into how to know which exercise is right for you when you're trying to conceive. Samantha has a background in personal training and run coaching and practices now as an ACE certified health coach. After getting into running, Samantha fell in love with the sport, but fell into an unhealthy dependence on exercise. After going off the pill in 2016, she found out she was missing her period entirely and received a diagnosis of hypothalamic amenorrhea, and then she was on to IVF. She had her son via IVF in February 2018, and before that, she was doing intense workouts and had to gain a needed 10 pounds. And then through deep mindset shifts around exercise and body image, she now enjoys more balance between working out and living her life than she even knew existed. So thanks so much for listening. I'm so thankful that you're here. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you know someone else who is on the fertility journey, please share this podcast with them. Hey, Samantha, excited to have you back on the podcast.
Yes, me too. I was just saying it's been years. I mean,
I know. It's like, where'd the time go?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. So definitely check out, Samantha was on the podcast a little while ago. Oh, what was it? January 2019. We discussed on that. So the title of that episode was which type of exercise is right for fertility. So definitely check out that episode. And today we are digging into exercise again, but we're just taking a little more deeper dive into it. So we've actually added to the Fab Fertile coaching program. So Samantha is now part of the program. As part of that, you get a half an hour to 45-minute consult with Samantha, and she's a mindset exercise coach. We'll basically develop a program that's going to be right for you and help with your exercise movement goals. We find there's two types of people. It's either the person that's like over exercising or the person is just like hanging out on the couch. So either of those are not great for fertility. And we're going to talk about that. Really wanting to fine tune movement, which is very important for fertility and part of our overall approach of looking at your diet, looking at your sleep, looking at your movement, looking at your stress, those foundational pillars. And we're going to talk about kind of what, we all know some of this stuff, but why don't we do it? So talking about what can get in your way. First of all, so why, and some of the stuff we already may know, but we're just going to talk about it anyways. So why is movement so important for health and fertility?
Yeah, I love that you started with this because it's like one of those things that you're like, oh, well, it's just healthy for us, but we don't even think about, wait, why, why is it? Obviously there's the bone health, there's heart health, there's managing blood pressure. A big part is mental health and stress relief, especially as you are trying to conceive. Even if you're not struggling, just the idea of we are ready to start or expand our family has a stress to it. Really helping with that, helping to maintain a healthy body weight. And I made this note here because I did not want to lapse on it. Your healthy body weight is not always your quote unquote goal body weight, right? Your healthy body weight is where your body likes to be. And to find that more of what we'll talk about today is doing appropriate amount of exercise, not too little, not too much, not trying to control your weight through exercise and eating, but to find that healthy place where your body is most comfortable.
Absolutely. Yeah. And also for sleep, find when you exercise, the sleep is better, your energy, as you talk about the relaxation or the mental, emotional side of this can be, sometimes people are using this to really combat stress. So sort of see if that is you and if you're doing kind of the over exercising with that, and also blood sugar imbalances, which we regularly see with people with the blood sugar being off, which then is going to impact the sex hormone. So wanting to be able to balance that. So movement is key for that as well. Yeah. So let's talk about some of the mistakes that we typically see with movement for fertility.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, who I work with, I mostly see doing the too much. We hear exercise is great for fertility, but they don't really give you an upper limit on that. So sometimes we fall into that too much of a good thing. Oh, exercise is good. Okay, awesome. I'm going to ramp up what I'm doing. And not just the volume or the amount, but the intensity of going too hard and too intense. Also not providing your body with adequate rest. So, we live in this culture of go hard or go home, never miss a Monday, all this, and pushing through. And so really listening to, when do you need a rest? When should you actually sleep through that alarm because you've been getting too little sleep, and not do a run that morning, and really understanding the benefits of giving your body adequate rest as you ramp up exercise. And I see another mistake on focusing on fat loss. I feel like if you go onto Pinterest and all over Instagram, you are bombarded with how to lose fat. And women, we need fat. We need fat in general, but we definitely need fat to make a baby. So fat loss is not where I would focus. Getting lean is not where I would focus if your end goal is to get pregnant.
And everyone listening to this, that is the goal. Yeah, that's really the key of listening to your body. And as you say, sometimes maybe you do need to sleep through that alarm and take that extra time. And, if you're a person that's like you love doing a to-do list, maybe we'll definitely one day a week saying no to-do list. So being able to pull back on things.
I work with a lot of type A women. I assume the women and the couples that are working with you have that type A personality because they are planning ahead, right? Mm-hmm. They are taking things into account before there's a problem. And that is an amazing thing. But with that comes this inability to pull back and to give yourself some grace and some rest.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Yep. We work with type A's as well, for sure. And so what do you think is holding people back from exercising and movement? We all know it's good. Definitely just talking personally for me, I know in times of stress or in times where I feel I'm too busy, the first two things that go would be meditation. And I finally got back to that, and more exercise. I always make sure I move with walking, but the other exercise, like more cardio and sweating, that has never really been totally part of my routine. So I will go through spurts where I do more of that. I always feel good when I do, but typically also, maybe here's a little question too. So there is if you're doing a lower amount of exercise and now you're starting to do more moderate exercise, what about the immune system when like you're pushing yourself sometimes? Because sometimes I'll find I haven't done anything in a little while, like more of cardio or extra exercise, and then I could get sick. So that's kind of in the back of my mind, like, ooh, maybe I've like stressed the body out.
Right. And that, if it's too intense, you can kind of cut your immune system down a little bit. It also depends on the phase of your cycle. And I'm just now getting into learning more and more about, your immune system when it can be down, like in your cycle. Mm-hmm. Definitely paying attention to that. And also making sure that you are, again, with that rest and the nutrition aspect of it. So as you ramp up exercise, are you also giving yourself enough calories? Are you also hydrating enough? That it's not just adding exercise without doing anything else different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then to see how you feel, I guess, like I've had it where the next day I'm like, I can't even sit down on the damn toilet. My freaking legs are
right. Yeah. We're not going
burning.
For that. And in the beginning, that's really easy to do on accident, right? Maybe the workout didn't even feel that hard, but 2 days later, you're like, oh my God, I overdid it. But really paying attention to that and being like, okay, so that was now I know that was too much. I'm going to adapt, instead of just pushing through. And I think, when you say what holds us back, for one, the not knowing what to do, there is so much information. My God, when you're looking at getting pregnant and you type that in, think of all what comes up. Well, when you you type in exercise or getting fit or getting in shape, whatever it is that you Google, it is insane the information you get. You have this fear of getting it wrong, of not doing it right. And there's that overwhelm of how do I fit this into my schedule? Because it's not just the workout. If you are doing something where you're sweaty, it is showering, it is changing clothes, it is where do you do this? It's not just 30 minutes. Or however long you're working out. And so it's really getting that into a regular routine. Like you said with meditation, right? You're in a regular routine and just happens. You do it. You're not thinking about it. But as soon as you get out, you got to figure out how to work it back in. Because once it's gone, it's kind of out of that routine and you don't think about it. So scheduling.
Scheduling. Yeah. Time. Because sometimes we're like, oh, we don't have time.
Yep. It's time. And I think that there's that kind of that all or nothing, I know there's this all or nothing thinking of maybe if it's not an hour workout, then I don't have time, then I can't do it. Well, 15 minutes is better than nothing. So kind of letting go of that all or nothing thinking, oh, I'm going to work out every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I miss a Wednesday. So, oh my God, I screwed up. Well, can you just work out Thursday and Saturday? It's nothing is set in stone. Like, how can you kind of be more flexible with it?
Yeah, flexibility and the motivation too. I think sometimes people, they come home. Now, if you're working at home, the commute's not, obviously there's no commute, but some people have gone back, but then you could come home after a hard day at work, and then you're feeling like the motivation has kind of gone.
Oh yeah. Yes. Set that, and that's these accountability check-ins. I mean, that's when, working with a coach, that's when setting up kind of an accountability partner of, hey, look, I'm going to get 3 workouts in this week. Get specific, not just I want to work out more, but I'm going to work out on these days at this time, whether it's doing a class, whatever it is. If you're doing a workout video that morning, if you can't do the workout in the morning, find the video you want to do. So in the afternoon, you just have to press play and you're not searching for, hey, what do I want to do today? It's kind of already planned. So the more you can do on the front end, the better.
What about boredom?
Boredom with exercise. Yeah. So really just finding what you enjoy doing. Any movement is better than no movement. So if it's that fear of, well, it has to be this type of thing and I don't like doing this, find out what you like doing and go from there. And, give yourself 10 minutes. I'm going to do this for 10 minutes. If I'm really not feeling it, if I'm really not into it, I'll stop. I guarantee no one stop. Like, you're doing it for 10 minutes, you're into it. You can get going. And I often will suggest or point towards certain YouTube creators, YouTube videos that I enjoy. Finding an instructor you enjoy. Maybe that's at a gym if yours are open. I know ours opened this week. Some people are going back, some people aren't, so that's not always an option now. This is a really weird time. But whether it's in person or someone you're following online, make sure you enjoy them and their style. And so you're not so it doesn't feel like you're forcing yourself. It can be short. Start with 20 minutes. Find something you like for 20 minutes, and that is better than nothing. And then it might not feel so boring, right? If you find something you enjoy, I will put on my own music. Even if I'm following someone like on the TV, on YouTube, I will cut the sound and I can watch and I can listen to a podcast or my music. So I'm entertaining myself with what I want to listen to, and I'm just going through the motions.
Yeah, especially if you watch the same video over and over again, it kind of like, okay.
Yeah, mix it up. Yeah. Mix it up. You can always bring it back, but there are so many different ways to move, to strength train that, my God, do not do the same video as soon as you start to find it boring.
And what about people genuinely feeling tired, coming at the end of the day or in the morning, just like tired?
Well, and that's one of these fine lines, right? And that's one of those that you are going to start to know your body and your mental state of, is this truly, I am taxed and I do not want to push myself? Or is this, I don't feel like doing it?
Yeah.
And if you set a timer for 10 minutes, you're going to know. You're going to know that, oh, actually, because you're going to feel that energy pick up. If you're not actually dead tired and really don't need the rest, but it's more of a mental exhaustion, once you're a few minutes into it, you're going to start feeling better. And if you don't, then, hey, no, I actually need to rest. Okay, I'm going to turn it off. Once you really start thinking, you're going to know if you're avoiding it because you don't want to do it, or if you're like, I cannot imagine picking up a weight right now, and you might not know it at first. If you're new to exercise, the more you do it, you're going to start to know your body and your cues and where your mental state is at.
Another thing I see is monies. I think people think they need to go and get some fancy exercise clothes, join a fancy gym, do all this stuff. So what's the one around money?
I'm shaking my head like you can see. No, I mean, that's a great thing about just movement. You don't need anything. You can do an amazing strength workout, all body weight. You can find that on YouTube. There's so much you can do, even progressive overload, meaning making the exercise more intense, whether that is doing a push-up in a incline position where your hands are on a bench, flip it around and put your feet on that bench, and it's going to be way harder. And you've not bought anything. So in terms of clothing, I mean, yeah, you can spend thousands Or you can go to Target and they've got perfectly fine stuff there that I've never had a problem with. So that is, some people find that more motivating though. If I invest in this piece of clothing, these running shoes, that is showing my self-commitment. People vary on that, but is definitely not necessary. I always recommend resistance bands. They are very cheap. They take up no space and provide extra resistance and kind of add some more types of exercises you can do without body weight, but for a very, very low, under $20 for like a set of resistance bands that take up no space in your home.
Yeah. And if you have a shopping issue or a shopping problem, like I used to have, maybe going to get that, saying you can't exercise until you have the $150 Lululemon pants is maybe not the thing to do.
Nope. We're all motivated by different things, but yeah, you can definitely work out in a t-shirt and old shorts. God, we're all working out at home. I feel like so many people aren't going to a gym anyway. No one can see you, so it doesn't really matter anymore.
Exactly. So we talked about this a little bit on the last podcast we did together, but I just kind of want to reiterate it, talking about running and your thoughts on running and fertility.
Yeah, this is a big one. And I, like I said, I was a former running coach. I ran 7 marathons. I like to run. Some people hate it. If that's you, that's fine. You definitely don't have to run. The thing is with fertility, what I found is too much running is intense, and it has been linked to, I don't even want to say infertility, but just, ovulatory dysfunction, maybe lengthened cycles, if you are doing too much of it and not focusing on your nutrition. This is totally dependent on the person. There is not a number of miles a week that I can give you that, hey, this amount is okay and this amount is not. I recommend paying really close attention to your cycles. For me, I went off the pill and I did not have a period. That is the extreme far end. My period went away because I was running so much and not eating enough. If you have a shortened luteal phase, that phase, between ovulation and when your period starts, and you notice that you are doing a higher volume of runs, if you are running, 3 hours plus a week over the course of the week, it has been linked to your cycles being off, the cycle itself being lengthened. If you're getting longer cycles in that shortened luteal phase, it could be because of too much intense exercise. Focusing on nutrition, just making sure you're replenishing everything that you're losing and getting enough to support that running. So running, yes, you can do it. But if you're not running, I would not say pick it up to increase your fertility. Look at the running. If you're having trouble getting pregnant, if you've got kind of a wonky cycle and you notice that you're I was addicted to running. I had to hit a certain number of miles a week. So asking yourself, do you have this feeling that I have to hit a certain number of miles or a certain number of minutes running? Do I have to run a certain pace or I'm going to feel like I have failed? Those are some red flags that it may have crossed over and you're not really listening to your body.
Yeah, to see how it impacts your cortisol level. So we run the Dutch test, which looks at your hormones using urine, and you can actually see it right on the test there where it's like, oh, wait a minute, if this is you, and then you can see potentially if your cortisol is flatlined or if it should go peak in the morning and then lower as we go through the day, and seeing what's happening with yours. If we see it like straight across, or there's no peak, like a little peak, or it has a peak before bed. So you get some more energy before bed and can't fall asleep. So all of this is impacting cortisol, which then impacts your sex hormones. So being aware of that and testing is a good place to start as well.
Yes, exactly.
And then, so how long should we exercise each week for fertility? What are we looking at?
It's really less about how much and more about the types. Mm-hmm. But I will say there have been studies that show 3 hours, like I mentioned with running, 3 hours of intense training a week. So let's say you're doing 2 days of an hour-long CrossFit and 2 days of a 30-minute sprint training or interval training, that can lead to ovulatory dysfunction. So looking at intensity should be more in the low to moderate with just a little bit of intense throughout. Really, it goes with the general guidelines. So, 30 minutes most days of the week, and keeping it, like I said, more to low to moderate intensity versus that HIIT training. You do not want to do HIIT training every single day of the week when you're looking, to focus on fertility.
And how do we know it's low to moderate?
Low to moderate, I always go by just the perceived rate of exertion. So the talk test. You should be able to, not talk and gossip, but to be able to get a sentence out or two and be understood. You should not be gasping. You can only get 1 to 2 words out at a time, gasping for air, not really able to hold a conversation. If you think about running, you should be able to kind of talk back and forth with someone.
And then the types of exercise, ones that you're liking.
Yeah. And there's so many great options. I mean, personally, walking is amazing. And when I was a runner, I would have laughed at that, but I get out for a walk every day with my dog. There are a ton of hills. Last time we spoke, or, we did the podcast, I was living in Chicago, which is pancake flat. I'm in North Carolina now. And just like my regular route has like 4 like good hills. So walking is great. Yoga, any type of yoga, I wouldn't really go for the heated, just regular room temp, if you will, yoga, Pilates, strength training is amazing. It's an amazing way to, for bone health and just to feel strong. Swimming is another good one. And, I don't want to have this connotation that running is bad, but it does need to be kind of limited and it should not be your only form of exercise.
Yeah. And walking, more brisk walking, because there's like a difference because I do some walks and some of them have my flip flops. Other times I have my running shoes. So it's like the flip flop walk, which is, a lot more casual than the brisk walk with your running
I would say
shoes on.
yes. Like a purposeful walk, right?
Yeah.
Walking with purpose, I think more, don't feel like you need to huff it up a hill for an hour and a half. But if you're getting like your heart rate elevated where, this is a time that I will always usually call my mom on a walk. I'm like, oh, I'm walking up the hill and I'm talking to her, but I'm clearly working, I am breathing heavier. So yeah, kind of, not intense, but focused walk. Yoga is amazing. I know you offer some, fertility friendly yoga, even power yoga. Pilates bar is another good one that is strengthening, but you're not doing high impact.
Yeah, with yoga, we recommend either hatha or restorative yoga. So those ones can be very slow, where you're like, wait a minute, this is so slow. I want to run out the room, which is kind of the point, to stay with the poses and hold the poses.
Yes, it's challenging.
Sometimes the emotions and stuff can come out too when you're doing that.
Totally. Oh, I agree.
Mm-hmm. And then, so we've talked about this a bit, but just dig into a little further. So the types of exercises avoided. So would it be exercising over 1 hour per day? Yeah,
I would keep it under an hour. And again, look at that intensity, that you should not be, you can have some intense workouts in there. It's not like don't ever work out intensely, but they should be like once to twice a week most, like under 30 minutes. So you're not only going all out every time that you work. And that's what I was doing. I was pushing myself. If you're lifting, don't be, Olympic powerlifting every time. Have some body weight strength that you can do for 12 reps versus I can only do 5 and I'm done. So really just kind of keeping things in check, that you've got higher intensity is a small portion of what you're working out. The majority is moderate and then some low worked in there.
And then what about if you've got an IUI or an IVF coming up?
Yeah. And that's obviously, highly specific, always talk to the doctor. They know kind of the ins and outs of your specific body, but generally, leading up to the transfer or procedure, if you're doing IUI, you can pretty much keep things the same. Post-transfer, post-IVF, if you're going to lift weights, just make them light weights or do body weight. You don't want to be nothing too strenuous. No HIIT, no intense cardio. But walking, yoga, those are really important. You want that blood flow to the uterus. They've shown women that do bed rest, because we're scared to move. I did IVF. And you have this fear of messing something up, of, coughing too hard. But bed rest, it can lower the temperature of the abdomen with less blood flow. And you want that blood flow. You want this warm body. You just don't want to be, doing sprints. You want to be gentle movement is key. Mm-hmm. And to do what feels good. If you've got this red flag, if you're so anxious about, you certainly don't have to lift weights, but if doing some body weight strength training, doing some push-ups would make you feel calm and good, that is perfectly fine to do.
And then what about tracking our steps? I think people have kind of gotten into the Fitbit side of things. I don't know. I got one and I just didn't really care about tracking my steps. So maybe, I don't know. So what's your take on tracking steps?
Yeah, that's funny, because I was going to say it all depends on how obsessive it feels. It's kind of like counting calories. Some women can count calories, can look at these numbers and not be emotionally and morally tied to them, and just they see it as this, hey, that's where I am today. If it starts to feel obsessive, like, don't take that Fitbit off. If, I've got an Apple Watch, make it so you can't see the steps. It's nice to get an idea of how much you're moving, but that is not like the be all end all. I would much rather see people regularly moving. I'm much more kind of concerned and looking at hey, am I standing am I moving my body once an hour? Versus, you could go out and run 6 miles in the morning and then sit on your butt the rest of the day. And like, that's not great, but hey, you hit your 10,000 steps. Versus if you get 6,000, but you've been moving more continuously throughout the day, that is kind of more important. So it's kind of, I see it's more of how obsessive it feels. I don't want anyone to get anxious or stressed about hitting a certain number, but it's nice to know, am I getting a decent amount? If you're only getting 2,000 steps a day, you should be moving more, but being more cognizant of that versus a specific number.
Yeah. And do you have any apps that you like there for that?
I use the Apple Watch like for steps. Mm-hmm. A lot of people do the Fitbit. I think it's really being more almost like with calories. It's getting an idea of where you are and just noticing, have I moved in the last hour?
No, I guess it's on the phone too. I haven't even used it, the health thing, because you can put that on when will that track your steps too?
I do not know. I've been using this. I got my husband's old Apple Watch. He stopped using it. And I was like, I hope you don't want this back because I'm addicted to it now. Like I take my calls on it. It's been really nice. But with the Apple Watch, you have to hit something to see the steps versus my Fitbit where I could look down and see the step number. And I do feel I'm a numbers person. I do feel it's better for me to have that extra step to look at my steps kind of helps me. Cause then I'm not, oh, where am I? I kind of notice it at the end of the day. And before, when I was much more tied to how much exercise I was getting, I was that weird person at night. I'm like, I'm 200 steps away from 10,000. I'm just going to like punch the air for a minute. What is that doing? Nothing. And now I will lay down and it's like, I'm 200 steps away from 10,000. I just go to bed because I'm tired. And like, I'm not as tied to it as I was. And it feels like much healthier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is the kind of thing to see if you're being obsessive about it or if you're comparing yourself to someone else or you're in because I was in with a bunch of people and they're competing with it. And I'm just like, oh boy, no, I'm good.
It's a fine line between motivation and this is something now I'm compulsively have to do for sure. Mm-hmm.
And so as we all sit and take Zoom calls and sit at our desk here as I'm recording this podcast, I'm sitting, how do we become less sedentary?
Yeah. It's finding something that for one, it's finding something you enjoy and finding a time to do it that makes sense for you. For some people, they enjoy first thing in the morning. For some people, it is before bed. I can't work out right before bed. I would not be able to fall asleep. Some people, that is what they look forward to at the end of the day. So finding that kind of time frame that works with your schedule so it doesn't feel forced. And again, something you enjoy. Try different things. Don't think that there's one way to exercise. If you're not doing that, it doesn't count. Try a dance class. My God, that does not feel like exercise to me. There's one that I've been doing. I did at the Y and she took it to Zoom. And I do not feel like I've had that thought of, oh, is I going to work out today? I'm like, oh, I already did dance. Like I'm not even thinking about it as a workout. So finding that thing that you like and finding accountability. So if you feel like you run into trouble, like, oh, I didn't work out for a week because I haven't thought about it. Your spouse, a friend, especially you do the couples, right? Like a built-in accountability buddy, a friend, a coach, hire a coach. This is worth your money to have someone check in on you because you can have the best plan in the world. And if you're not going to do it, or if you're going to do it for 2 weeks and then forget about it, it doesn't matter. So finding that accountability is just as important, if not more, than finding a plan to follow, right? And finding, a friend or working with someone to set up accountability doesn't have to be this crazy plan. It's just, hey, let's talk every Friday. This is my goal. Let's check in to see if we did it. Can you walk with a friend? I'm going to text you when I'm done. Just having some form of you put that goal out there and someone's going to ask you about it can be a huge difference.
Exactly. That's the key of our coaching program. It's really making all these targeted diet and lifestyle changes and having someone accountable and really helping you get out of your own way. And we all have our own crap to get out of our own way, and whatever it may, our excuses, whatever it may be, maybe they're not even, maybe they are legitimate excuses, but to be able to have someone have a second set of eyes on it, go, oh, wait a minute, how do you look at that a little bit differently, for sure?
Well, yeah, you may make the excuse to yourself, and then as soon as it comes out of your mouth to someone else, you're like, oh, that's not real. Like, you know what I mean? That's not. What do you mean I didn't have all that? I sat there and watched, binge watched 3 shows in a row. Like, I could have done a plank during that time while I'm doing this, and just to get creative and know that it is not this all or nothing. If you miss a day, okay, get back on it the next. It doesn't have to be an hour work. It doesn't have to be a 45-minute workout. If you can do 20 minutes, maybe you were planning on doing a 45-minute workout and you have time for 20. Well, do 20. Check that off. That's something. You did something. Mm-hmm. The more frequently you do things like that and show yourself that it isn't all or nothing, the easier it is to figure out how you can work it in. So it's not that black and white.
It is interesting because I'm like a major doer and I'm like action taker, but with exercise, God, I can just hear myself making all these excuses. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing I let go. And as I say, I move, but like adding the rest of it, I'm like, oh boy. So that accountability, having a plan, staying consistent, calling yourself out on your own crap. Because last night I was watching some garbage. Well, it wasn't garbage. It was really, I'm in front of a really good Netflix show with Hilary Swank called Away. Oh, I love it. Anyway, so I watched that. I thought, oh, I could have been doing a plank, but looking at those things, and then the less sedentary during the day, how to take breaks, and how do we just incorporate movement just into our little routine there during the day?
Routine is key. I know I had a client that we're working on, okay, how can I get that more movement in? She's like, well, I like walking. I'm like, okay, but when makes sense to you? Because sometimes for some people it is, okay, I'm going to set a time that I walk. I'm going to walk at 2 every day. If you've got sporadic calls, then it is, okay, before I eat lunch or between these calls, or look at it each day. It doesn't have to be a blanket statement. Every day I'm going to take a walk break at 11 and at 3. It is today's Wednesday. I'm going to look at my schedule. Okay, it would make sense if I can do it after this call and before dinner. It doesn't feel like, well, this was my plan. I can't make it work. So forget it. This never works. It is what works for your schedule. Can I get out for 10 minutes? It's raining. Can I do 2 minutes of jumping jacks? Have a playlist on YouTube. That is big. I find workouts that I enjoy. There are some great 10-minute videos, and I've got a playlist of 10-minute workouts. Oh. So, hey, I can fit in 10 minutes. I don't even want to think about what I have to do. I'm just going to press play and follow this woman for 10 minutes. So finding those small ways, but looking at it each day so it doesn't go on the back burner. Writing it, putting in your calendar. If you have a paper one, like schedule it in there, put a reminder. And like I said, the more you do it, then it's going to become second nature. Whether that's walking, do you walk the dog in the morning? Can you make an extra loop? Can you extend that from a 10-minute walk to a 20-minute walk? Very little things are going to add up.
Yeah. And even those, if they're taking stretch breaks or sort of breaks during the day too, what about, is there things you have for that to do? Instead of, I guess you can do the 10-minute YouTube, but if there's a stretching or moving or.
Oh yeah. And I feel like I had a good app. There's like a yoga app. There's so many. I'm going to send you some apps that we can post on this in the show notes.
Yeah.
So you've got on your phone. We all have our phones with us, but you can't always, I understand, put something on YouTube. But can you follow just a set of things? Also, the more, if you're following a couple like stretching or just like dynamic movement routines, the more you follow them, well, then you're going to have this catalog in your head of like, well, here's 3 that I really like that I can just do without thinking about. I don't need anything. I just find that I like these movements. This is what I can do. And really tracking it. I've been using Insight Timer for meditation, and it is insane. Just like it says, I've done 21 consecutive days. Mm-hmm. No one else is seeing that but me, but it is like, I don't want to let that go. Yeah. So finding what motivates you. Do you literally put gold stickers on your calendar? Like if if you need a visual to see it, so you can see I'm not going to break this habit, if you can write down your intentions that morning, whatever it is that makes you feel like I am committed to this, go with it. No matter how silly it seems, we are adults, but we do like stickers and and that kind of like gold star of like, hey, look how many days I've done this. My goal was to do it this many days a week. And hey, I've already hit my goal. Yeah, I'm going to do an extra one. That was so easy. It's often we make it much harder in our heads than it is in reality.
Yeah, and that Power of Habit, that book by Charles Duhigg. Yeah, talking about the cue and then the action, I think, and then the reward. And so the reward, putting in a reward. Maybe if you're doing it, then you get to watch your favorite show, or like after you do this, you can watch your favorite show, or after you do this, you can have your parents give you a massage. Whatever.
Any little thing.
Yeah, some reward.
I forget maybe it was in his book, but it was, finding a podcast. I'm big into podcasts, finding a podcast you like to listen to. And hey, I only listen to this one when I'm walking, or I only, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it is that reward. I'm not just going to turn this on. I'm going to listen to this when I am physically doing something, whether that's following a video and you've got it on in your headphones and you're just kind of watching, whether it's when you walk, but having that, hey, this is, coupling it with something that you really do like to do. It just makes it so much easier, because then you start to look forward to it. And
so what are some of your favorite workout websites, apps, anything you're just loving right now?
Yeah. I've mentioned YouTube, but Instagram is good too. So I really like Sydney Cummings has been amazing. She does live workouts every single day. Yeah. So her catalog on YouTube, the playlists are really well categorized. I really appreciate that. You can filter it by, if you want upper body, if you want full body, if you want cardio, if you want yoga, and by time also. She has as short as 5-minute little stretches or 10-minute full body strength workout. 5 parts yoga is good too. She's got quite a variety, but I've noticed so many people on Instagram are doing live workouts that are really quick. So that's another way. If you see one and the time is right, like, okay, just do it. Don't think about it. And sometimes that sense of like, oh, this is going live right now. I didn't plan for it, but I've got 10 minutes. Don't think about it. Just go. The less you can build it up and think about it in your head and just do it, the better and the easier it is.
Yeah, to string on an existing habit. So it's like something that you do every day. So you don't think about, I'm not going to brush my teeth because that would not be good. So you already do that, and then add it on after I brush my teeth, then I work out. So it's an existing, existing habit.
Yeah, tie it to something. And challenges are always great. There are so many free challenges, either Instagram or Facebook. Find a free challenge. That is, sometimes they're just like 5 days, and it's like, okay, well, that's going to kind of kickstart this habit. And maybe you find something that you like that you didn't before. Make a commitment with a friend. Hey, look, let's do this workout at noon every day this week. You don't even have to do it together, but like, hey, let me know when you did it. And finding those small ways to kind of ingrain accountability and kind of kickstart that habit. Start small.
And what about an app? Any of the apps you like?
Apps? What apps have I been using? Honestly, do my own usually, but I think it's just called Interval Timer. But that one has been really good because you can set up your own times, where I will do 45 seconds, like times 6, and I will just think of 6 exercises to do, and I hit the timer, and I'm not counting. I'm just kind of going through and doing it at my own pace. There's another one that I can't remember the name of that I will send you, but it had workouts that you could just follow along with. And it wasn't even a video. It would just tell you like, okay, you're going to do jumping jacks, 12 jumping jacks, or it would start a timer. You're doing jumping jacks for 30 seconds, and just follow along. So I'll find that one and send it to you, because I can't remember the name of it.
Any other final words on movement, exercise for fertility?
I think really it's finding something that you like. That red flag, that other end of the spectrum that I kind of gravitate towards me, I should say, like attracts like, is recognizing those red flags of, did it go past the point of I'm enjoying this and now I feel like I have to do this and it's an obligation and I'm not fully enjoying it, but I feel trapped. You should always feel like you can take a rest day and not feel guilty. And you should not tie, how much did I work out? Okay, this is how much I can eat today. It should be fully supportive, because that's what I see a lot of I have to work out to burn this off. And it's because it's out there. It's diet culture. And it is, if you eat this, do 25 jumping jacks. And it really shouldn't be tied. Nutrition is supporting our movement. It's not a punishment.
Yeah, under eating and under fueling and over exercising, not a good recipe. Nor is couch surfing and feed up. So it's just say that moderate side of things, and
it's finding that moderation, right?
Really, at the end of the day, set the intention, commit, and it just makes you feel good. And I like putting it onto an existing habit that you have, and then it's putting the workout clothes there, and there it is. Whenever you decide to do it, whether you come home and the workout clothes are there, or you wake up and they're there, and off you go. And as you say, starting small, and then do the 10 minutes, and then just do it.
Oh yeah, start small. Find that whatever accountability is enough for you, is motivating for you, whether it's telling someone, working out with a friend, hiring a coach. I mean, that, like I said, you can have the best made plans, but if you're not going to do them, what good is it? And watching for all or nothing thinking, watching for, I don't have time for the full video, I'm just not going to do it. Well, turn it on and follow as much as you can until you need to stop. Just start moving. Yeah.
Love it. Awesome. We'll end on that one. Just start moving. So thanks again, Samantha, for coming on and sharing your words of wisdom on this topic.
Of course. I know. I'm glad we could do this again.
Awesome. Melatonin is important for female fertility. It helps regulate hormones and maintain the body's circadian rhythms. Plus, it helps determine the frequency and duration of the menstrual cycle. Plus, it impacts sperm count and motility. Blue and green light negatively impact our melatonin production. That's why we recommend Blue Blocks, blue and green light sleep glasses to all our one-to-one clients. Simply go to Blue Blocks, BLUBLOX.com, and use the coupon code GetPregnant Podcast at checkout to receive your 15% discount. That's Blue Blocks, BLUBLOX.com, and use the coupon code GetPregnant Podcast. Hey there, I regularly speak with 5 to 10 couples per week who are struggling to have their baby. And although we want to help everyone, we only have 2 spots available per month to work with us. So the Supercharge Your Fertility Discovery Call is for action takers, and really people who are ready to move forward so they can finally have their baby. And if you're not ready and you wait, the risk is you'll need to wait 2 to 3 months for a spot to open up. So if you're seriously considering working with us, go to Fab Fertile, FABfertile.com, and click on Book a Free Call. Then you'll be all booked in and ready to spend 30 minutes to give you the action plan to getting pregnant naturally. That's Fab Fertile, FABfertile.com, and click on Book a Free Call. I'm excited to offer you a special gift. If you are a U.S. resident, text Fertile, FERTILE, to 55444. You'll be prompted to enter your email address, and you'll receive our fertility yoga download. In this 20-minute intro video, we focus on a calming and peaceful practice to connect back to our heart. These simple yoga poses can help quiet negative thoughts and make you feel more in control. Download it now and get started today. For U.S. residents, text Fertile, FERTILE, to 55444. For non-U.S. residents, go to Yoga Freebie, FREEBIE, to access your special gift. That's yogafreebie.com to access the free fertility yoga download. The Get Pregnant Naturally podcast, including show notes and links, provides information with respect to healthy living, nutrition, lab testing, and is intended for informational purposes only. The information provided is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor is it to be construed as such. We cannot guarantee that the information provided on the Get Pregnant Naturally podcast reflects the most up-to-date medical research. Information is provided without representation or warranties of any kind. Please consult a qualified physician for medical advice, and always seek the advice of a qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding your health and nutrition program.